All right, welcome to Career Explorer, this series where you can learn more about available career paths. You can use these videos to explore something you've always dreamed about or to learn about something brand new. And my hope is that by watching these videos, you'll have the information of a career panel, a mentorship chat, and an info interview all rolled into one. Plus, because these are videos on YouTube, you can watch them in your pajamas if you'd like. My name is Tori Waber. I'm a career and leadership coach. If you want to learn more about me or my work, you can check out the links below. You can also subscribe if you want to see more career interviews coming up. We've got a number on the way for this channel. And the way these videos are going to work is this will be a playlist. You can turn this on and watch all the way through, or jump to the video that suits you. Watch however you'd like. Today, we'll be speaking with Zarin Machanda, who is an assistant professor of anthropology at Tufts. Welcome, Zarin.
Hi, Tori. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited too. It's going to be fun. I already know a lot of these things, but this is the chance to share them with folks more generally. And so, Zarin, we'll start in this first video just by hearing about your path to become a professor. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right. So first question. When you were 10 years old, would you have pictured doing what you do now?
I think the answer is actually yes, to some extent, which may be a little bit surprising. So I've always loved working with animals. And I remember my dad used to get National Geographic. And so I would go through it. And I remember reading about this article about trying to save rhinos and how you could, there were these veterinarians who were learning reproductive technology to translate to rhinos. And I was like, that is my job. I am going to artificially inseminate a rhinoceros. So yeah, so that's not what I do actually, but I think the idea of working with wildlife, working towards conservation, being somewhere else, not having a vet office, but actually being in the field. All of those things were things that I wanted to do since I can remember. And yeah, so I'm not a veterinarian. And I think when I was 10, that was the only career path that I knew about for someone who studied animals, but I'm not that far off. I'm doing a lot of the things that I would have been interested in. So
yeah. Well, and it sounds like that early fascination with, all right, what if I could actually go out there and work with wildlife, help with conservation? When did you find out about the path of being a professor?
It actually wasn't till college, really. So I actually went to university to be a veterinarian. That was my path when I started college. It was my path really through most of college. And I had been working with some captive chimps to get experience for vet school. But then I kind of, in many ways, it was a perfect storm. So I was working with these captive chimps, thinking about okay, I need to get experience with them, taking animal behavior classes. And then I took a class in the anthropology department because it was the only elective that I could find that fit my schedule. And it was human evolution. And I was like, yeah, okay, this sounds fine. I'll take it. I need another class. And it was this switch turned. I thought, oh my gosh, you can study humans? You can study humans like other animals? What? And I was spending time with chimps, seeing their crazy behaviors, reading Richard Wrangham's papers in animal behavior. And it was this combination of these three things that I was like, wait a minute, this might be another career path. So, I also was very lucky and privileged and all sorts of things that I had opportunities to do research with professors. And they were very nurturing and really great mentors in so many ways. And they actually, I think, were the ones that first, I remember very clearly on a paper I wrote, one of them wrote, "This is so good, you could try to publish it." And I was like, what? And I think that was when I thought about more oh, maybe I could do this as a job, being able to see them work and what they did. It was a model for another career.
Yeah, well, and almost that chance you got in undergrad to see, that storm of, okay, wait, I can take animals and look at humans this way, and there's a career behind it. Sounds like it started with like the passion and the insight, and then
Yeah, it definitely started with a passion for animals, but it definitely was also like the actual path, like towards studying wild chimpanzees was very much in many ways lucky and a little bit like kind of random and like keeping some doors open and keeping some like just being like not blinded by I have to get to vet school and this is the way to go, but like actually keeping some options open.
yeah, and it sounds like that's sort of okay. The chimps are a way to start getting more experience, but then that openness
Yep.
to, well, wait a minute, what if I went this direction?
Yeah.
Or a
And
balance.
it was scary. Like I won't, I mean, like it was scary because it's not like I come from a family of professors, which some people do who are in our field. Um, but I did have an uncle who was a professor, so I did have some people who I could talk to about it. But it's really scary, especially if you have like a path that you've been on since you were 10, like you're like, I'm going to be a wildlife veterinarian, to then take a risk and try, go somewhere else. And, I mean, that's the kind of path, like deciding to do a PhD instead of going to vet school feels like a little bit of a terminal decision. Like, I'm not sure that there are many people who are going to finish a PhD and be like, I'm going to go to vet school now. Like that seems like you're like, that felt like one moment where I was closing a door.
How did you make that choice?
I honestly don't remember too much about it. Like I remember getting into programs for both. And I think there is this aspect of like almost like privilege, like thinking there aren't that many people in the world who get to go study wild chimpanzees like as a job or even just like for a year, right? Like even just for a small amount of time. And I wasn't sure I could do it, but I did think like you can't say no to that opportunity, because if you hate it, you can say no after a year and then you can go to vet school, right? Like you won't like, so I think I just looked at like, this is such a rare opportunity. Like take advantage of it, even if it's scary, like even if it's terrifying, just do it, because you can always change your mind, right? Like I think I did convince myself that I could change my mind.
Yeah. Well, and okay, this is a rare opportunity. I've got to pursue this. Did you find yourself after a year then saying, oh, maybe vet school, or was it just once you were there, it was?
Well, you were there. So it was hard. Like I won't lie. I mean, I thought grad school was pretty hard. Like the first two, I thought the first 2 years were very challenging. I had a lot of doubts. I had a lot of tears, like not thinking, like a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, did they make this mistake, or was I just admitted because I'm diverse? Like I'm a diverse candidate, but I don't actually deserve to be here. Um, so I had a lot of doubts. I didn't go to the field to see the chimps after my first year of grad school. I went after my second year. And I think by the time I went, I was like, look, I have worked this hard. I am going to see wild chimps if it's the last thing I do. I am going to spend the summer with them. And if I still have doubts after that, then I'm leaving. And yet, but it was more amazing than I thought, right? Like it was more amazing than I could have imagined. It would made every single part of the first 2 years that sucked completely worth it. And I just, that was it. Like I kind of, I'm so glad I went to the field before I like decided to leave or not leave.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like early on with those doubts, there was determination and grit of just like, I'm going to get there. And then once you got to wild chimps, it was like, oh, this is why, right?
Yeah, this is why. Yeah. And it made it, I mean, I still think that. Like, I think there are so many aspects of my job that really suck, like that are really hard and just a lot of work. And yet, the opportunity to go see the chimps once a year for however long, like it makes it worth it. Like that's what we live for. I mean, and those are fewer now that I'm older and like have more responsibilities, both professionally and personally, but I mean, still worth it. It's still.
Well, and it's so interesting. There's so many aspects in which this, connecting with your why, people say connect with the why. For you, there's just this like, that is where I want to be out there, have the chance to be with wild chimpanzees. And so I will take all the rest of this package to make that happen.
Yep. And there's a lot in that package. So, you know.
All right, that's our next video, is diving into the day-to-day and pros and cons. So let's dive into that in a moment.
Okay.